I am Calhoun, a 34-year-old software engineer living in Boston with my loving wife of 7 years, Amanda. We had always been close with my sister Natalie and her husband Jake, spending holidays and weekend barbecues together as a tight-knit family unit. But last Friday night changed everything when Jake, drunk and emotional, confessed his love for Amanda while I overheard from the kitchen. That moment sparked a chain reaction that would uncover decade-old family secrets nobody was prepared to face. Before I dive into how my family imploded in a single weekend, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. Hit subscribe if family drama keeps you up at night, because trust me, this story will have you questioning everyone close to you. My life before this disaster was what most would consider successful. I worked hard to build my career as a senior software engineer at a respectable Boston tech company. The job paid well enough that Amanda and I could afford our renovated brownstone in one of the prettier neighborhoods in the city, where fall leaves created a canopy of burnt orange and deep red over the cobblestone streets. Amanda and I met during our sophomore year at MIT, both struggling through an advanced calculus class that seemed designed to weed out the weak. I noticed her determined expression as she scribbled notes, the way she challenged our professor when his explanations fell short. Our first date was at a small coffee shop near campus, where we talked until the baristas started stacking chairs on tables, a not-so-subtle hint for us to leave. She works as a pediatric nurse at Boston Children's Hospital, a job that requires enormous emotional strength, yet somehow never diminishes her capacity for warmth at home. Her patients adore her almost as much as I do. She has this ability to make everyone feel heard and valued, a quality that unfortunately made her appealing to more than just me. My sister Natalie is 3 years younger than me, with the same dark hair and hazel eyes that run in our family. Growing up, she always looked up to me, following me around, despite my occasional teenage annoyance. As adults, we remained close, even as she established her own life as a high school art teacher. Her creative spirit brought color and life to everything she touched, including our family gatherings. Then there was Jake. He entered our lives 5 years ago when he met Natalie at a gallery opening for one of her students. He came across as the complete package: handsome, charming, successful as a financial advisor at a prestigious firm. Everyone liked him immediately. My parents adored his respectful manners and ambition. I appreciated how he seemed to genuinely care for my sister. He became the favorite at family gatherings, always ready, with a funny story or offering to help with dinner preparations. Our families blended seamlessly. We established traditions of Sunday dinners, rotating between our homes, elaborate holiday celebrations, and annual summer trips to rental houses on Cape Cod, where we would spend long days on the beach and evenings playing board games while drinking wine. Looking back now, there were signs I missed. Over the past 3 months, Jake had been acting differently around Amanda. He texted her more frequently, supposedly about surprise birthday plans for Natalie or advice on gifts. He volunteered to help with home projects when I mentioned being busy with work deadlines, offering to fix a leaky faucet in our bathroom or help Amanda set up her new home office. I dismissed these changes as nothing concerning. Jake had recently received a significant promotion at his firm, and I assumed the increased responsibility was causing some stress. Perhaps helping with simple projects was his way of decompressing. Maybe the extra attention to Amanda was just Jake becoming more comfortable with family. Amanda certainly never suspected anything amiss. She treated Jake exactly like a brother, completely unaware of any ulterior motives. She would casually mention his texts or calls. Jake asked if we wanted to join them for dinner Friday, or Jake sent me that recipe I liked from their dinner party, never with any secrecy or discomfort. The night before everything exploded, we had a typical family dinner at our house. Jake drank more than usual, finishing nearly half a bottle of whiskey himself. Throughout the evening, I caught him staring at Amanda several times when he thought nobody was looking. His gaze lingered too long, too intensely, but I convinced myself I was imagining things. At the end of that night, his goodbye hug with Amanda lasted several seconds too long. She gently patted his back and stepped away, seeming slightly confused but not alarmed. Natalie was busy collecting their leftovers and did not notice. I felt an unease settle in my stomach but pushed it aside, helping clean up dishes, and soon forgetting the moment entirely. If only I had paid more attention. If only I had recognized what was happening right under my roof. But some betrayals are so unthinkable that our minds protect us from seeing them until they become impossible to ignore. The fateful Friday that tore our family apart started innocently enough. Amanda had received recognition for developing a new pain management protocol for young cancer patients, and we decided to host an impromptu celebration dinner. I grilled steaks on our back patio, while Amanda prepared her famous roasted garlic mashed potatoes. Natalie brought a beautiful homemade cake decorated with tiny fondant stethoscopes and hospital badges. She had always been thoughtful that way. Jake arrived with expensive champagne and immediately opened it, pouring generous glasses for everyone. He seemed on edge, his normally easy smile strained at the corners. While we ate, he consumed several glasses of champagne, and then switched to the whiskey he found in our liquor cabinet. For a weeknight dinner, his drinking seemed excessive, but celebratory occasions sometimes had that effect on people. After dinner, while I prepared coffee and plated dessert in the kitchen, I heard Jake ask Amanda to help him select music from our living room collection. Their voices carried clearly through our open concept space. "I need to tell you something," Jake said, his words slightly slurred. "Something I have kept inside too long." Amanda's response was light, unaware of what was coming. "What is it? Are you planning another surprise for Natalie?" Then came the words that would detonate our family. "I am in love with you, Amanda. I have always been in love with you." The dessert plates nearly slipped from my hands. I froze, listening, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Jake, what are you talking about?" Amanda whispered, shock evident in her voice. "You are married to Natalie. You are my brother-in-law. You cannot say things like that. I cannot help how I feel." Jake continued, his voice growing bolder. "From the moment Calhoun introduced us, I have not been able to get you out of my mind. Marrying Natalie was the only way I could stay close to you without raising suspicion." The blood roared in my ears. My hands clenched into fists. I wanted to rush in immediately, but some instinct held me back, telling me to hear more to understand the full extent of this betrayal. "Stop this right now," Amanda demanded, her voice stronger now. "You are drunk, and not thinking clearly. Natalie is my family, and you are betraying both her and your marriage by saying these things. You do not understand." Jake pressed on. "I have pictures of you, dozens of them. I look at them when Natalie is sleeping. I imagine what our life could be like together. I know your schedule, where you shop, which coffee shop you visit on Tuesdays before your shift. I know you better than Calhoun does." That was enough. I stepped into the living room, dessert forgotten. Amanda stood with her, back against the bookshelf, face pale with shock and disgust. Jake leaned toward her, swaying slightly from the alcohol. "What did you just say to my wife?" I asked, my voice deadly quiet. Jake spun around, eyes widening, as he realized I had heard everything. "Calhoun, man, I am just drunk. I did not mean anything by it. We are all family here, right? You just admitted to stalking my wife," I said, stepping closer. "You just said you married my sister to get close to Amanda. Tell me why I should not knock you unconscious right now." Jake backpedaled, nearly tripping over the coffee table. "It was just drunk talk. You know how much I love Natalie. I would never." The front door opened, and Natalie walked in carrying a gift bag. "Sorry that took so long. I forgot the card in the car and had to go back for." She stopped, sensing the tension immediately. What is happening? Why does everyone look so upset? The silence stretched for several excruciating seconds. Amanda, always the compassionate one, tried to protect Natalie. "Jake has had too much to drink. Maybe you should take him home." But I could not let this pass. Natalie deserved to know the truth, no matter how painful. "Jake just told my wife he is in love with her. Has been since they met. He implied he only married you to stay close to her." Natalie's face crumpled, as if she had been physically struck. The gift bag dropped from her hands, revealing a framed photo of the four of us from last Christmas. "That cannot be true," she whispered, looking at Jake with pleading eyes. "Tell me that is not true." Jake attempted damage control, stumbling toward Natalie with outstretched hands. "Baby, he is twisting my words. I was just complimenting Amanda on being a good sister-in-law. Calhoun is overreacting." I heard every word I said firmly. Amanda heard every word. "You said you married Natalie to stay close to Amanda. You said you keep pictures of my wife and look at them when Natalie is sleeping." A small broken sound escaped Natalie's throat. She backed away from Jake's approaching hands. Is that true? Do you have pictures of Amanda? Jake's face transformed desperation, replacing his earlier confidence. Everyone needs to calm down. This is just a misunderstanding. Answer her question, Amanda demanded, finding her voice again. Do you keep pictures of me? The room fell silent as we all waited. Jake looked from face to face, realizing he was cornered. Finally, he mumbled, It is not what you think. I admire Amanda. As a nurse. As family. That is all. Natalie shook her head slowly, tears streaming down her face. I want to see your phone. And your laptop at home. That is private. Jake protested, suddenly defensive. Not anymore, Natalie said, with unexpected firmness. She turned to me, her eyes hollow with pain. Take me home. I need to see what is on his computer. What followed was chaos. Jake arguing, pleading, making excuses. Amanda trying to comfort my distraught sister. Me struggling to contain my rage enough to function. Eventually, Natalie physically pulled Jake from our house, his protests continuing until they disappeared into their car. The silence they left behind was deafening. Amanda sank onto our couch, hands shaking. I never gave him any reason, she whispered. I never suspected anything like this. I sat beside her, mind racing with all the implications. This is not your fault. Not at all. We sat in stunned silence for hours, attempting to process the evening's revelations. Around midnight, my phone rang. Natalie, her voice nearly unrecognizable through her tears. I found things, she choked out. Terrible things. On his computer. Can you come over tomorrow? Both of you, I cannot handle this alone. I agreed immediately, promising to arrive first thing in the morning. As I hung up the look, Amanda and I exchanged confirmed what we both suspected. Whatever Natalie had discovered was just the beginning of this nightmare. Neither Amanda nor I slept that night. We lay awake discussing what Jake's obsession might mean for our family, how Natalie must be feeling, and what steps we needed to take moving forward. By dawn, we were exhausted but resolved to face whatever awaited us at my sister's house. We arrived at 8 o'clock in the morning to find Natalie still wearing yesterday's clothes, her eyes red and swollen from crying. The immaculate home she had always maintained was now in disarray, cushions thrown from the couch, a broken glass in the kitchen, and Jake nowhere to be seen. He is staying at a hotel, Natalie explained hoarsely as she led us to the home office. After what I found, I could not have him here. On Jake's desktop computer, Natalie had discovered a hidden folder buried deep within encrypted files. She had only found it because she knew his password patterns, variations of his childhood dog's name, combined with different numbers. The folder contained hundreds of photos of Amanda, some taken from social media and family gatherings, others clearly captured. Without Amanda's knowledge, Amanda getting mail from our front porch, Amanda jogging in the park near our home, Amanda through our kitchen window. My stomach churned with each click through the horrifying collection. This is not admiration, I said. This is stalking. Worse than the photos was the journal. Jake had kept digital entries dating back to the day he met Amanda, detailing his obsession in disturbing clarity. The most devastating entry was the one where he explicitly stated his strategy: met Natalie today. She is nice enough, but the real prize is getting closer to her sister-in-law. Dating Natalie is my ticket into their family. Natalie's hands trembled as she showed us this entry. 5 years, she whispered. 5 years of marriage based on a lie. He never loved me. I was just his access pass to Amanda. The financial discoveries came next. Jake had opened multiple credit cards in Natalie's name, racking up tens of thousands of dollars in debt she knew nothing about. Statements showed charges for expensive gifts sent to a woman named Heather in Providence, clear evidence of at least one affair. I thought we were saving for a house, Natalie said numbly. All this time he was spending money we did not have on another woman, while obsessing over my sister-in-law. Most disturbing of all were the recent internet searches on Jake's browser history, inquiries about my work schedule notes, about when I typically stayed late at the office, research on our home security system specifications. He had even looked up information about Amanda's hospital parking garage layout and which entrance she typically used. The realization hit us all simultaneously. Jake's obsession had been escalating. He had been planning something more sinister than just secret photos and fantasy journals. We need to call the police, Amanda said firmly, her nurse's training kicking in with practical next steps. This is evidence of identity theft at minimum, and these searches suggest he might have been planning something dangerous. As if summoned by our conversation, Natalie's phone began ringing, Jake's name flashing on the screen. She declined the call, but he immediately called back. And again. And again. He has been doing this since last night, Natalie explained, silencing her phone, alternating between threatening me if I tell anyone what I found and begging for forgiveness, claiming he can explain everything. I pulled out my own phone. We are filing a police report right now. Financial fraud, stalking, potential planning of... Before I could finish, we heard a key in the front door. Jake burst in disheveled and wild-eyed, reeking of alcohol despite the early hour. "What are they doing here?" he demanded, glaring at Amanda and me. "This is between us, Natalie. Our marriage. Our private business." "There is no marriage," Natalie said, her voice surprisingly steady. "Not when it was built on a lie. Not when you only married me to get to my brother's wife." Jake's face contorted with rage and panic. "You had no right to go through my private files. Those were personal. Personal." I stepped forward, placing myself between Jake and the women. Photos taken of my wife without her knowledge. Credit cards opened in Natalie's name. Research about our home security system. "What exactly were you planning, Jake?" "You do not understand," he snarled, taking an aggressive step toward me. "Amanda and I have a connection. She just will not admit it because of you." Amanda stood her ground beside me. "The only connection we have is as family, which you have destroyed. We are calling the police, Jake. You need help." At the mention of police, something snapped in Jake's demeanor. He lunged forward, grabbing my shirt. "You ruined everything. She would have eventually seen we belonged together if you were out of the way." What happened next was pure instinct. As Jake's fist drew back, I blocked his punch and countered with one of my own, connecting solidly with his jaw. He staggered backward but recovered quickly, charging at me with the desperation of a man with nothing left to lose. The altercation was brief but intense. Furniture toppled as we grappled. I heard Amanda on the phone with emergency services, her voice clear and urgent. Natalie screaming for Jake to stop. My focus narrowed to protecting my family from this man who had hidden his dangerous obsession behind a friendly facade for years. When the police arrived minutes later, they found me restraining Jake on the floor, his lip bleeding, my eye beginning to swell. As they handcuffed him, he continued shouting threats and declarations of love for Amanda, cementing for the officers the seriousness of the situation. "You will regret this," he yelled, as they led him away. She was supposed to be mine. This family was mine to control. We stood in the wreckage of Natalie's living room, physically and emotionally battered, watching through the window as the police car disappeared down the street. The nightmare confrontation was over, but the process of healing was only beginning. The days and weeks that followed Jake's arrest unfolded in a blur of police statements, legal consultations, and emotional processing. My parents flew in from Chicago the next day, providing the additional support system we desperately needed. Mom took charge of practical matters, cooking meals, answering calls from concerned friends, running interference with nosy neighbors. Dad, normally stoic and reserved, surprised us with his emotional availability, sitting quietly with Natalie during her most fragile moments. Natalie could not bear to stay in the house she had shared with Jake, so she moved into our guest room temporarily. Those first few nights we would hear her crying through the walls. Amanda would often slip into her room, sitting with her until she fell asleep, the bond between them strengthening, rather than weakening from Jake's attempt to come between them. We began family counseling, all four of us attending sessions twice weekly with Dr. Marshall, a specialist in family trauma and betrayal. The initial sessions were raw and painful, with Natalie questioning how she could have been so blind, my parents expressing guilt for not seeing through Jake's charm, and Amanda working through feelings of violation, knowing she had been secretly observed and objectified for years. I struggled with my own demons, primarily rage, and a deep sense of failure to protect my family. "You could not have known," Dr. Marshall reminded me during one particularly difficult session. "Manipulators like Jake are skilled at presenting exactly the face people want to see. This is not a reflection of your judgment or watchfulness." The legal proceedings moved forward steadily. Natalie filed for divorce immediately, citing fraud and emotional abuse. The financial crimes were the easiest to prove. Clear documentation showed Jake had opened 8 credit cards and 3 loans in Natalie's name, without her knowledge amounting to over $70,000 of fraudulent debt. The stalking case against Jake strengthened when police executed a search warrant on his office at the financial firm and discovered additional evidence. A small notebook with Amanda's work schedule, meticulously documented, including which doors she used at what times. A background check revealed this was not Jake's first obsession. 2 previous girlfriends before Natalie had reported concerning behavior when their relationships ended, though neither case had resulted in charges. For Amanda, the hardest part was continuing her work at the hospital, knowing she had been secretly watched there. The security team implemented new protocols for her protection, and several co-workers took turns walking her to her car each evening. She considered transferring to a different hospital, but ultimately decided against it. "I will not let him take my career from me too," she said with determination. I upgraded our home security system, installing cameras, motion sensors, and stronger locks. The company representative thought I was being paranoid until I explained the situation. "Better safe than sorry," he agreed, adding extra features at no charge. 1 month after Jake's arrest, we attempted our first family dinner without him. The empty chair at the table loomed large, but we pushed through the awkwardness, creating a new normal one, uncomfortable moment at a time. Natalie even managed to laugh when Dad burned the garlic bread, a small sound that gave us all hope. Through her art therapy sessions, Natalie began channeling her pain into powerful mixed media pieces. Her high school students noticed the shift in her work, the raw emotion captured in every brushstroke. "They keep asking if I am okay," she told us over coffee one Sunday. "I tell them, I am getting there. Art helps. Family helps more." 6 months into our new reality, Jake accepted a plea deal admitting to financial fraud and identity theft. The stalking charges were harder to prove in court, despite the overwhelming evidence, but the plea agreement required him to undergo psychiatric evaluation and treatment plus strict no-contact orders with all of us. Natalie finally sold the house, unable to create new memories, in a space so tainted by deception. Her new apartment was smaller but filled with light wall-to-wall windows in the living room, skylights in the bedroom, as if she were physically seeking to illuminate every dark corner of her life. The first holiday season after everything happened was a study in reinvention. Instead of our traditional Christmas Eve dinner at Natalie and Jake's house, we rented a cabin in the Berkshires, creating distance from familiar settings and painful memories. We established new traditions, a hiking excursion on Christmas morning board games by the fireplace, instead of gift exchanges. My mother teaching Amanda her secret family recipe for Swedish cardamom bread that had previously been reserved for only blood relatives. "You are blood now," Mom told Amanda, squeezing her hand across the flour-dusted counter. "You always have been." As we approached the 1-year anniversary of that fateful night, I found myself reflecting on how our family bonds had been tested but ultimately strengthened. Natalie and I were closer than we had been since childhood, talking almost daily rather than the weekly check-ins that had been our norm before. She had started dating again cautiously, selectively, a fellow art teacher who understood her need for a slow-building trust. Amanda emerged from the ordeal with a deeper appreciation for her own intuition. "I always felt something was off about him," she admitted one night as we lay in bed. "Not dangerous, but just not quite authentic. I dismissed it because everyone else seemed to adore him. I will never ignore that feeling again." Our marriage, tested by external threats, emerged stronger for having weathered the storm together. We developed new habits of checking in with each other, expressing appreciation more freely, and never letting small disagreements fester. The hardest lesson for all of us was accepting that trust requires both openness and vigilance. We had been raised to see the best in people to welcome them into our family circle without reservation. Jake had exploited that openness, using our trust as a weapon against us. "You cannot stop trusting, Doctor," Marshall advised in one of our final family sessions. "But you can trust wisely. Listen to your instincts, pay attention to inconsistencies, and most importantly, stand together. Predators like Jake target families with cracks they can widen into chasms." Today, Our family stands without those cracks, bonded more strongly through shared trauma and recovery. Some family secrets destroy from within, eating away at foundations until everything collapses. But we discovered that truth, no matter how painful, initially ultimately heals and strengthens what deception would have destroyed. I look at my sister now, laughing again, creating art again, cautiously loving again, and I see resilience personified. I watch my wife, caring for her young patients with the same compassion she always had, refusing to let Jake's obsession dim her light. I observe my parents now more present and engaged in our daily lives, no longer taking family harmony for granted. As for me, I have learned that protection sometimes comes too late, that vigilance cannot prevent all harm, but that recovery is always possible when surrounded by genuine love. We rebuild. We move forward. We create something stronger in the broken places. Have you ever discovered someone close to you was not who they pretended to be? How did you handle that betrayal? Leave your story in the comments below, and do not forget to like and subscribe to hear more family stories that prove truth really is stranger than fiction. Thanks for listening to my story today. And remember, sometimes family is not about who you trust blindly, but who stands beside you when trust is broken. See you in the next video.